Hello, welcome to our special broadcast. I'm Parikshit Luthra. The top story we are tracking this evening: Bangladesh is on the cusp of a restart after a decade and a half of the Awami League rule. An interim government will take oath today, and leading it will be Nobel Laureate Mohammad Yunus, a man who faced multiple cases during the Sheikh Hasina regime. Hasina had even gone on to the extent of accusing Yunus of sucking the blood of the poor. Yunus had maintained that the charges were planted at the behest of the Hasina government. With Hasina out of the picture and the country for the foreseeable future, there are challenges confronting the new government on multiple fronts: a fractured economy, rising unemployment, a compromised law and order situation, and the threat of religious fanaticism rearing its ugly head. India, meanwhile, has indirectly given its support to the new government. The External Affairs Ministry said that the Indian High Commission in Dhaka will attend the oath-taking ceremony scheduled later today. The MEA also said that the restoration of law and order was a priority for the new government.
As far as we are concerned, Government of India and the people of India are concerned, for us, the interest of the people of Bangladesh is foremost. It is the responsibility of every government to ensure well-being of all its citizens. We hope for early restoration of law and order in Bangladesh. This is both in the interest of the country itself and for the region as a whole, or the larger region as a whole.
Veena Sikri, former Indian ambassador to Bangladesh, with us on the program. Also, Badiul Alam Majumdar, political commentator and economist, is also joining us from Dhaka. Mr. Alam, if I can come to you right now, give us a sense of the contours of the new interim government that will come into effect now. Mohammad Yunus would be leading it, but could you give a sense of who are the other representatives of the civil society, of political fraternity, of economists who are going to be part of that interim government?
Thank you. As far as I know, Professor Yunus is the head of the not caretaker government, but an interim government. And we are not sure. And the names are being talked about, and there are a lot of names are being discussed. So we do not know who will be in the final list. A lot of people's names are being discussed right now. So we are not sure who will be in the final list.
In terms of the priorities, what would you say would be the immediate priority for the Mohammad Yunus-led interim government?
One of the top priorities would be to keep the prices stable and economic situation under wrap, because there are serious economic challenges that is before this new government, and the government. There is no government as such. It was a one-party rule, and when she was gone, and everything collapsed. So there is no law enforcement agencies. There is an army, and the bureaucracies. A lot of people went on hiding, and even the judges went on hiding. So the bureaucracy and the law enforcement agencies need to be reconstituted and really make it functional. And also many of the institutions, even the courts, were very partisan, and they basically work for one person and to safeguard her interest and the interest of our party. So now it's in a sense rebuilding, and many of the institutions, other institutions, including Election Commission and the Parliament, is dissolved. So there are a lot of challenges, and another challenge is that there have been a lot of criminal activities and killing, literally killing of hundreds of people. And so those people will have to be brought to justice, and a lot of looting and plundering.
Right.
And that has gone on. So something needs to be done. And also the expectation is that the state will have to be repaired. And it's dissipated, basically. And so some deep reforms will have to be done. So those are the things that are...
All right, some deep reforms are needed. A lot of changes in the bureaucracy and among the judges as well. Let me go across to Ambassador Veena Sikri, who has served in Bangladesh as India's High Commissioner. Ambassador Sikri, let me ask you, is this now a setback for the Indian government? A foreign policy vis-a-vis Bangladesh and Sheikh Hasina. Now you have a leader in Mohammad Yunus who will be heading the interim government. We will see elections in about 3 to 4 months. In all likelihood, the Jamaat-e-Islami and the BNP will take centre stage in that election. How should India approach these political parties now?
Look, first of all, I would like to say hello to Mr. Badiul Alam Majumdar from Dhaka and recognize him.
When you were here.
Yes, exactly. So I'm glad that he's given a very frank assessment of the present situation in Dhaka. And that's what it is. He said there's no government. It's a complete anarchy. In the last 4 days since Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina left Dhaka, there's been total anarchy. Nobody knows what is going on. And there's massive killings in the countryside. The attacks on the Hindu minority, the rapes, the killings, the lynchings, these are absolutely barbaric. And I'm absolutely shocked, to say the least, that BBC and all the world news agencies have turned a blind eye to it. There's not a mention. There's a kind of a romantic notion about students in Dhaka, manning the intersections and running the traffic and so on, and not a word to say that there's a complete absence of police because they've gone into hiding. The police stations have been looted, records have been destroyed, prisoners have fled, and there's no law and order at all. So only the Jamaat-e-Islami's word is going, and I'm surprised, and here I would like to hear from Mr. Badiul Alam Majumdar, that even the newspapers in Dhaka, who used to be so careful about freedom of the press and used to criticize Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina about the Digital Security Act, are today not writing anything about it because they're scared. And they're scared, and they're saying that if we write anything about it, our buildings will be vandalized, they will be burned down. The complete atmosphere of fear and uncertainty in the country. Now, this is what you're showing about on your visuals, that the statue of Sheikh Mujib is being brought down. These are not students who are doing it. This is the Jamaat-e-Islami. They're trying to reverse the what happened in 1971, the Liberation War. In fact, Professor Dr. Mohammad Yunus himself talked about a second liberation. Now, what is the second liberation? A liberation from the first Liberation War? I mean, it's really alarming what is going on. And I think that the world community needs to wake up and see. And then you have talked about, you yourself have mentioned, Parikshit, about, Jamaat-e-Islami and BNP taking center stage. Now, this is very strange that you should say it, because when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was there, everybody was talking about inclusivity and saying, come on, you must get BNP on board and you must get Jamaat-e-Islami on board. Of course, BNP chose not to participate in the elections, so they were not there. Jamaat-e-Islami was debarred from the elections because of the High Court decision against their party. And still the world was saying, come on, inclusivity. And now that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is not there, none of you want to even mention the Awami League. They are a big party. They have 35-40% of the vote. How can you do that? I mean, this is a complete reversal. And I'm really surprised to see groups like CNBC TV18 talking about like this, that, you want to now forget that the Jamaat-e-Islami, that the Awami League ever existed. You want to forget that the Hindus ever existed. There are about, 15 million of Hindus in Bangladesh. And nobody is looking at what's happening. And it's not only the Hindu community. Businesses are being destroyed. MSMEs are being destroyed. The countryside is on fire, and there's nobody to look after them. There's nobody at all. There are no students there. There are no people.
You're saying, Ambassador Sikri, that Awami League is still a major political player in Bangladesh despite the exit of Sheikh Hasina. Badiul Alam, how would you describe the political situation? As and when there are elections, where does the Awami League stand? The leader who was holding them together has had to flee the country. She is not going to make a political comeback, as her son has said. Several leaders of the party, of the Awami League, have been killed. Their houses have been burnt. So there is a major setback for the Awami League and its cadre as well. Does the Awami League continue to be a political force in Bangladesh, or will leaders from the Jamaat-e-Islami and the BNP be more important whenever there are elections, and will they take center stage?
Okay, first of all, I'm a little bit surprised that former Ambassador Veena Sikri, the way she described the situation, that's far from the reality. And the Awami League disintegrated, basically. People are in hiding, and many of them fled the country because so much criminal activities went on, and they killed hundreds of people. before she fled, hundreds of people. And also she's talking about the exaggerating the Hamas and BNP's role. And yeah, people are apprehensive. But yes, there has been some violence and there has been some killing, some looting, but not to the extent that the way she described. And there has been euphoria, and there has been really people are angry, there has been a lot of killing by the Hasina regime and disappearance, and there is an Aina God. And a lot of people are there still. So Awami League I don't think Awami League as we saw before Monday will be around. It will splinter because there was no Awami League as such. It was government and Awami League one and the same. And only leader, only person who was running the show, she's gone. And so everything disintegrated, and I think and also the excesses of Jamaat and the BNP is so grossly exaggerated. I don't know what good does it do. And in fact, they have been trying, and we have apprehension. They have been trying to be very, very responsible. And the reason it disintegrated, the reason the law enforcement agencies are not there, because they were not the state institution. That is not a state institution. That was a personal the goons of the past regime. So as far as I have seen, and I have been outside, and even Jamaat, BNP, they have been trying to prevent any kind of looting or killing. And the way she said that there is a lot of killing. Yes, there has been some killing, but not to the extent that happened before Monday.
Okay, my final word to Ambassador Sikri. Ambassador Sikri, your thoughts on what Mr. Alam has said, and how do you think Bangladesh will now limp back to normalcy? And who do you think are the key leaders who are to be watched out for in the next few months?
Please, I think, first of all, I was talking about inclusivity. I'm not speaking in favor of any political party or any particular individual. I am talking about inclusivity. If you want to change a system, you have to want to be inclusive all along. You're saying the earlier system was not inclusive. You want to be inclusive. Bangladesh is a constitutional monarchy. Constitutional democracy. It's not a monarchy. It's not a one-party rule. Now, if there were shortcomings in the earlier time, they have to be corrected. But to say that in 4 days, an institution which is 100 years old has just disintegrated and disappeared, I don't know whether it's fair to make this conclusion in 4 days unless you're willing it to be like that. And I'm surprised that, in any part of the world, we know, for example, in America, it's a strong two-party.
I request you to come and speak.
Please, I did not interrupt. Let me speak. I think in America also there is a strong two-party system, and it's a very polarized system. We know that between the Democrats and the Republicans, there's a lot of difference of opinion, a lot of polarization. Within families, there is polarization. Of course, there is all of this in Bangladesh and in all other democracies of the world. It's there. But that doesn't mean that you have a situation, if you want a democracy to flourish, if you want a democracy to establish roots, it has to be a multi-party, allowing everybody to be in the system. So I don't think we can discuss today what is going to be there. I can predict one thing, that there will be no elections in 3 months. I can predict that now. And there will be a delay, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows? Because, I believe I have already understood from people in Dhaka that this is the demand of many people, that no, in 3 months, nothing can be done. You cannot set anything right in 3 months. We need some more time. So this is already the talk. This is already on the ground. So I don't think, in this one way you can. I think the visuals are showing of all the looting and all that went on and the breaking. Are these all students who are doing it? This is a big thing. Where is it? Who are these people? This complete looting, is this a functioning democracy or is it anarchy?
All right, we've completely run out of time, but thank you very much, Ambassador Sikri and Mr. Badiul Alam. We'd love to have you on our program once again. This is a continuing situation, and we watch Bangladesh with a lot of concern and sympathy at this juncture. We're heading into a short break, but coming up on the other side, we will be joined by Vardhan Shringla, former Foreign Secretary, who's also served as the Envoy to Bangladesh. We will be discussing the challenges that lie ahead. Welcome back. You're watching News Center. Our focus continues to be on the volatile situation in Bangladesh. More than 440 people have died since the violence began 1 month back, and 100 alone have died since Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country. The country continues to be on the edge. There are questions about the political future of Sheikh Hasina, who continues to be in India right now, hoping for a safe passage to either UK or a European country. Joining us right now to talk about the key challenges for Bangladesh ahead and also challenges for the India-Bangladesh relationship is Vardhan Shringla, former Indian ambassador to Bangladesh, also former Indian Foreign Secretary. Ambassador Shringla, thank you very much for joining us. Let me begin by asking you, Mohammad Yunus is going to be now heading the interim government. How do you think this will work for Bangladesh? Do you think it will restore peace and calm in the days to come?
So let me put it this way. You know, in the run-up to the events that led to Sheikh Hasina's exit, the demands from the protesters were twofold. First, the abolition of the quota system, which happened. And then, of course, that Sheikh Hasina should resign, which also happened. So the expectation was that with her exit and with the fulfillment of the demand of the protesters, they would go back home and that normal life would resume in Bangladesh. But that hasn't happened. And today the situation continues to be one which is, of uncertainty. Clearly, there are incidents of violence, there are mobs that are, rampant. And there are attacks on vulnerable sections of the population. And it is this context in which, Nobel Laureate Mohammad Yunus is going to, or is expected to take over as the head of the interim administration or interim government. And I think, Mr. Yunus is a well-known personality. He has pioneered the Grameen movement, which provides microfinance and microcredits to the poor in Bangladesh. He has, been recognized through the Nobel Peace Prize that he was awarded. He's very well known in the United States, where he's the personal friend of the Clintons and other very prominent people in Washington, D.C. And clearly, the expectations are quite high with him taking office possibly later today.
Right. Ambassador Shringla, what I would also like to ask you, and something that you pointed out, that the violence in Bangladesh has continued even after Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country. Who do you think are the key perpetrators? One, of course, was a large student movement which had been developing. It was simmering for some time. Some of their demands have been met. So who are the other actors who could be instigating and fanning the violence even now?
Well, I've always maintained that the student protesters were the genuine protesters. They had a genuine set of demands and grievances, and they were legitimately entitled to protest and to try and seek redressal for what I think was the desire for a level playing field when it comes to employment and opportunities for the youth of Bangladesh. Having said that, I think later in the movement, the movement was infiltrated by, various elements, including the Jamaat-e-Islami, which we know is a pro-Pakistan, radical Islamic group, and their youth cadre, which is the Jamaat Shibir, who had sort of infiltrated the student movement and brought about the violence that you see in that movement, the arson, the looting, and the destruction of public property, private property, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's statues, his house, the Dhanmondi, which was a museum, the Indira Gandhi Cultural Center. And I think all of these attacks were perpetrated, and they were very targeted attacks by the Jamaat. Today, I know that a lot of people who worked to bring their crimes committed in 1971, which amounts to genocide, to book are now being targeted. Minority communities are being targeted. So in my view, it is these lumpen elements and these radical elements today that control the narrative on the streets. And I'm, what perplexes me is why, the Bangladesh army hasn't taken control, why they haven't, re-established rule of law and law and order on the streets. I think it was relatively easy to say that, look, you had your say. Your demands have been met, and now it's time for you to go back home and let normal life resume in the country. Peace and stability and resumption of law and order, protection for the citizens of that country, I think are basic requirements which must be met for the people of Bangladesh. There is a fear psychosis in the country. People are terrified that mobs can come into their houses, take them out, torch their houses, and much worse.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the program, giving us your view on how things stand as far as Bangladesh and what's the road ahead for India-Bangladesh relations as well. That's all we have time for here on News Center. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.